Hi, everybody. Welcome to another one of our webinars with Times Higher Education students. Today, we are joined by the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, sunny San Francisco, or is it snowy San Francisco at the moment from what I've heard? Lovely to be with you guys today. Thank you for joining. We do always ask you to ask some questions. We've got a great interactive webinar for you today, so please do ask the questions as we go along in the Q&A box just at the bottom of your screen there. And if you do have any questions, like I said, just pop them in there. So I'm going to hand you over to Sue, who is your host today.
Hi, everybody. So great to have you here. Welcome. Welcome to the Academy of Art University. Truly is a vibrant community of artists and designers from all over the world. And I'm going to have Trisha help me with the slides. We're having a little technical difficulty. That's why we started late. So Trisha, let's go. Let's go to the next slide, please. So San Francisco is truly a beautiful city in the United States. I may be biased, but I think it's one of the most beautiful. That's the Golden Gate Bridge that you all heard so much about. Next slide, please. So we have cable cars, we have hills, we have a beautiful bay, and we have a lot of artists and designers living in one city. Next slide. So not only do we have a beautiful geographic location, but the Academy of Art is located in the downtown area. We have 40-some buildings, and it's positioned between all these art and design technology studios that you've all heard of. And what does that mean for you? Well, it means that while you're taking classes, your teachers will be working at these various studios that we're surrounded by. And why do they do that? Well, they want to get to know you. They're always looking for new talent. They want to make sure that you know about them. So while you're taking classes, you're actually networking with pros. And what does that mean? That means you can get internships and finally a job later on. And I'm going to talk a lot about jobs. So we'll go on to the next slide, Trisha. So we have accreditation. What is accreditation and why is that important to you? That means that the United States government has looked at everything we're doing and they feel like we're doing a good job. It's their seal of approval. So we have regional accreditation, WASC. We have a national accreditation, which covers all the national art and design schools in the United States. That's important. Then we have professional specialized accreditors. For example, we have CETA, who's the Council for Interior Design Accreditation, NAB, that's the National Architecture Accrediting Board. And then we have the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. So if you want to teach, we can help you get there. Next slide. We have many majors. You can see right here, we have 22 majors, but we tailor make curriculum. So we can offer you just about anything you want. If you, for example, come to us and say, well, I want my major to be illustration, but I would like to take some classes in animation, we can make that happen. So when we say we have 22 basic schools, we have over 122 accredited degrees and programs. And I can guarantee you, if you come to the Academy, the biggest problem you're going to have is, what do I want to take? What should my major be? Because we have everything. Next slide, Trisha. We seem to be having, okay, so STEM. What is STEM? STEM means if you take a program that is STEM approved, after graduation, you can stay in the United States for up to 3 years and you can do paid work. I mean, literally you can work for 3 years and have that on your resume. So here's some of our majors that have STEM approval. That's important for you. That gives you an opportunity to really get a foot in the door at any of the companies that you might want to work at. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to go through some of the majors that you might be interested in. Architecture is one. If you're somebody who wants to build buildings, create communities, we can do that in architecture. Next slide. Fashion design, you're not only going to create your own designs, you're going to create the actual clothes, and you're going to be using, you're going to be doing your own print making on these fabrics. The students started out with sketches and ended up with real outfits. So whether or not you want to do clothing accessories, or if you just want to work for a store like Neiman Marcus, or maybe you want to, I don't know, you want to just work with textiles, any of those things, we can make that happen for you. Next slide. Jewelry and metal hearts. Some schools combine that with fashion. We don't. We use it as a standalone. And by that, I mean, you're only going to be working with metals. You can create rings, necklaces, earrings, and you can work for individuals, or you can work for companies that are maybe online. But you also can do big pieces, like if you want to do metal work for gates, like for estates or for a big, fancy villa. We can help you learn how to do that as well. Next slide. Photo is obviously, every picture speaks 1,000 words. What we try to do is marry your creativity with technology. And the idea is to create images that people won't forget. And I think these are beautiful images of sugar. I love to look at that one. Next slide. Advertising, you're getting a message across. Maybe you're selling a product, or in this case, the international student said, I'm really worried about the plastics that are in the ocean. And so I'm going to take an iceberg, but I'm going to show the part under the water as plastic, just to get the point across. We need to take care of our oceans. Next slide. Visual development, you're creating a story, you're creating characters, you're putting together the way they talk, the way they dress. You're taking an idea and you're turning it into a real person. Next slide. But you also create environments, like you can see in these slides. That one is kind of an eerie, foreboding environment, and then you have characters. You can we all could put personalities on those characters. That's what you do in visual development. Next slide. But if you want to work on feature-length films, like you might find Pixar or Disney, we can have you do that too. And we have animation and visual effects for full-length feature films. And the point of this is, though, even if you're going to use a computer, you still have to learn how to draw. So next slide, Tricia. And here's an image. This is part of something, a storyboard, we call it, that a student did for one of the most popular student films that's ever been produced. Next slide. Industrial design is also amazing. It's where you're going to take products and it's going to make it better for human beings. So whether it's a new kind of tennis shoe or it's a bus that you can travel on and in luxury, these are things that you do in industrial design. And next slide. And of course, maybe you're interested in cars. If you're interested in cars, we have the head of the industrial design department is a well-known, globally popular car designer who's worked for all the big companies, Miata, BMW in the United States, Ford. Everybody knows him. So if you work in this department, Tom Matano can help you get a job when you get out. And that has huge value for you. Next slide. Graphic design, you're taking color, you're taking type. You've got a very small amount of space to get somebody's attention. You not only want their attention, but you want it to be favorable. Think of the grocery store. When you go to the grocery store, mostly you're looking at labels. That's what a graphic designer does. And I just want to say, if you're detail oriented, you like the idea of working on a logo or a label, this is truly a visual communication that you should consider. Next slide. Illustration, we have all kinds of areas of illustration that you can get involved in. We can have you learn about editorial illustration. We can have you do children's books, which is what this is. Next slide. Or we could do comic books. The thing about illustration is you're working with pen, pencil, you're working with digital design. And what you're doing is you're communicating with people about something that maybe a writer wants to produce. So you're solving problems and you're making images. And again, it's a very creative, but you have to know how to draw. And we're going to make sure you know how to do that. Next slide. Of course, we have fine art painting. Everybody knows what that is. If you have friends that have paintings in your house or in their house, or you go to a gallery, this is student work that you're looking at, and these aren't photographs. These are done from real life. So you can see the students achieve a high level of skill. Next slide. Fine art sculpture as well. These are highly stylized, but you can do traditional figurative work like the David in Florence, Italy. But you can, it's really up to you, whatever, wherever your mind takes you. Next slide. Interior architecture and design, you're creating environments that people want to be in, that people are attracted to. In this case, you can see we're on a rooftop and there's a bubble that people can go into, or and maybe if it's raining, they still can be out on the rooftop. Next slide. I especially like this as a demonstration of interior architecture and design because they're taking a stairway, just a basic, how to get from one floor to the next, and they've made it beautiful, and it enhances the room rather than just serves as a functional piece. So this is what interior architects do. Next slide. So people ask me a lot about rankings. We're ranked by a lot of different places. These are national and international rankings. You can see a lot of ones there: best concept, best illustration, best graphic game design, actually. Goes on. And these are just a few. We have more world-class rankings. So how good are we? We're pretty good. We're being ranked #1 by international judges. Next slide. We also have partnerships with these companies. They come into our classrooms. They say to our students, we have a problem. We want to attract maybe a younger clientele, or we want something that looks very futuristic, or what kind of story could we tell that would, bring in a general population, not just a certain group. You are in the class, you're taking classes, you're meeting the pros while you're taking the classes. What could be better than that? Next slide. And from these partnerships, there's all kinds of jobs that you can get with the same companies that you're doing these classroom projects with. Now, English proficiency, you don't have to be totally bilingual. I know most of you are not native speakers. We offer personalized language skill courses and training, and we're nationally recognized for our English for Art Purposes program. But the great thing for you is from the very first day, you can be enrolled in art classes as well. So you don't have to wait to pursue your degree. Next slide. We have student clubs, a lot of student clubs online and on site. And I want to emphasize here, if you come to the academy, you don't have to necessarily be on site. You can start out in your home country. You can be taking the same classes you would take if you were on site, but they'll be what we call asynchronous. And asynchronous means that you can take them whenever it's convenient for you. We've been working on this since the year 2000, and we're pretty good. All of our accreditors have given us their blessing. They think that we're doing a good job. We can see when we put the work up at the end of the year at our what we call our spring show, you can't tell the difference between the students who have never been on campus and the students who have been on campus since the very beginning. Next slide. We have housing. If you need a place to live, and most of you probably will if you come on site, sometimes it's hard to know where to live in a city. You can look for where's the cheapest place, but then sometimes you don't feel safe. Or you can say, well, I can live here, and it means that you've got a 2-hour commute. We don't want that to happen. We don't want you to get into housing where you aren't not comfortable, where it's hard for you to get back and forth to classes. So we provide dormitory housing, style housing. By that I mean private and shared rooms. And we have meal plans, so you don't have to worry about where am I going to buy my food? Do I have a kitchen? Most of our rooms don't have kitchens, but like I said, we have meal plans, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And as you can see in that picture, at the bottom there is a bus, and that shuttle bus is taking students from a dorm to and from their classes. So you can go back and forth as many times as you want. It's only academy students on the bus. It's a great way to, it's raining or cold, or you just don't feel like walking one day, you can take the bus. Very simple. All you have to do is have your student ID. Next slide. So how much does all this cost? It costs about $35,000 per academic year for undergraduates, and about $36,000, a little over almost $37,000 for graduates. But that includes your application fees, your student activity fees, your health insurance, and it gives also your course material and supply fees. That does not include your housing. But when I tell you all these aspects of the school, the pro instructors, the opportunity to network while you're taking classes, being in the middle of San Francisco, this hub of creativity, where you're going to know and meet people from industry all around you who are working right where you're going to school. And we guarantee if you complete our program, you will have a competitive portfolio. We have a career services office. It's going to help you get a job. All of that. When you think about the value for you getting into a very competitive area like art and design, I think you'll say, yeah, it's really worth it. So next slide, I want to show you a video of everything I've just been talking about. This is all student work, and then I'll come back to you after you watch this video. next slide, Tricia. So whether you want to do music for movies, whether you want to act, whether you want to anything in the visual arts, really, this is a place where you can go and explore that, where you can work with people who have been successful in that field. For example, in motion picture television, which you saw some clips in that last reel, the woman who's over that department has 3 Oscars. She's won 3 Academy Awards. That's huge. It doesn't have, some people never get one. She has 3 of them. And she is overseeing this department, looking at all the work that's being done, putting her stamp of approval on it, and also connecting students to the motion picture industry down in Southern California. But besides that, whether it's illustration, fashion, industrial design, graphic design, whatever it is, we're going to ask you to move out of your comfort zone. We're going to, like it says there, defy the ordinary, create the extraordinary. Our instructors are going to push you. They're going to ask you to do more than you ever thought you could. And then they're going to be there to help you as you try to figure it out. So this is an unbelievable opportunity if you're an artist or an aspiring artist that feels like they need to work when they get out of school. We're going to make that happen. But you don't have to just hear it from me. I have another clip I want to show you. And this is students. We asked some international students, what was their experience like at the Academy, to tell us a little bit about it. So I want to play that for you now, and you can hear from the students themselves.
I was looking for the best photography programs that I could find, and this popped up, and I loved how many facilities this campus had.
Well, early on, I was able to work on actual project that normally you would not be able to work on until you finish school and you start working in the studio.
I worked in an ad agency back home for 3 years. I was like, hey, I want an opportunity in America, and San Francisco is the creative hub, right? So I wanted to come here.
It's a great opportunity for people with or without background to come here and be in the environment and learn from professionals.
You don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to know anything about it, but you can learn it from it.
I'm doing Master's in UI UX design. Previously, I did my bachelor's in interior designing, and I had no experience for UI UX. This is like a new thing for me. I'm having daily new experiences, and I can say all the experiences are positive.
The facilities and the professors at Academy of Art are some of the best I've had. You're working with people who have won Oscars, people who have worked years in the industry and know it in and out, and they're there to support you to get into whichever field you want.
All the teacher I had, I really enjoyed them. I received a really useful advice.
We love presenting our work that we worked so hard for the past 14 weeks. Every team member pulled through, and then we've created this cohesive, holistic approach. It's also a great opportunity to see how like real work environment works, especially with different environments, different designers coming in from different departments.
It's an amazing way to get experience before you go to the world.
The Academy of Art's like a really good opportunity to meet new people and to create films and to go after your dreams living in a really cool city.
Everyone cares about us as students, and they are opening a lot of opportunities for us.
The Academy allows us to express our potential as artists, and they bring that out of us.
I love people here. I love that it's international place where you can find people from China, from America, from other countries, and you can have this mix of ideas.
My love for advertising is increasing since I've got here, and just the people I meet, different minds from different cultures, and you realize that you're a tiny part of the world, you know, and that's exciting.
I am one of those person that looking for different things. Whenever I'm searching about the new things to try, I find out that, oh my God, we do have that tool in the school, so it's really cool.
If you look for the professional ideas in the design area, definitely it's a better place to go.
It's one of the best art universities here in America.
Typography, advertising, UX design, I will recommend any design students.
I would recommend the Academy to innovate, especially in my career fields. I don't think there's any other school out there in the world that really offer what Academy offers.
So how do I get to the Academy of Art? Well, that we're going to show you. This is how you can apply. You contact the school. You can go to academyart.edu to our website. There, you can go to international admissions. We have a team of specialists who just work with international students to make it as easy as possible for you to make your dream come true. And I think after what you've just seen, and all of that was student work that we were looking at, and you heard from the students themselves, I think you should check us out, because if you really do want to work, you want to get a good job doing your flavor, whatever that flavor is of art and design, we have the people here that can get you to the place where you can get that job. So that's all I have for today. Savula, do you want to join us back? Come back.
Hi guys, brilliant presentation, and do not worry, I could hear all of the sounds there, so there was no issues on that side. Thank you guys for joining. I'm gonna kind of start with the questions now, if that's okay.
Sure.
So let's have a look. I'll open some of these up. Okay, I have a question about the visa situation in the USA. So for students from Asia, what is the visa situation like in the USA now?
Well, we are moving towards what more normal, whatever that is. In terms of visas, students will get their visas from the embassies in their countries. So every country has a little different, I guess, regulations in terms of what they're looking for. So once you decide you want to come, you should start talking, get an appointment with your embassy. And we will also, if you're working with us, we'll make sure you have your I-20. We'll make sure you're prepared for your interview. But you can't do your interview in the US, so you have to do it in your home country. The other thing I would say, though, is if you are thinking about coming, but you're not sure you want to move to a whole nother country, you can start out online, and that's what I was talking about. You don't have to go through the visa process initially. You can take some classes. You can do them from home, and then you can decide if, yeah, I really love this, and now I want to come to San Francisco, and we'll be here for you.
Amazing. And do students need a portfolio before attending?
No, they don't need a portfolio. In fact, we know most students, at least in the US, most students don't have a portfolio. They may have taken one or two art classes, but they may have some examples of work, but they don't have a portfolio. So whether you're graduate or undergraduate, you need to just come to us, show us what you do have. And if you don't have any art at all, but you always wanted to be, I don't know, you want to be a weather person on the television, whatever, we can help you get there. We have the departments that can work with you. We'll start at the beginning. When I started taking classes at the academy, I did not know, I had not drawn professionally. I had sketched with a pencil, but I'd never really drawn professionally. They start you out how to properly do your charcoal pencil, sharpen your charcoal pencil. They work with you on that kind of detail. So they will go to the very beginning if you haven't done this before.
Amazing. And how is the accommodation search there at the moment? Will I be able to find work alongside my degree?
You mean while they're studying?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good question. There's a couple answers. One is you can't work for your first year when you come to school. The first year on site, you can't work. After that, you can do what we call it's curricular practical training. And that means that if something you're doing is related to your major, for example, I'm in fashion design and I get a job at a store, retail store, that would be considered related to my major, especially if I'm working in clothing. Then you can work up to 20 hours per week paid, but there's this is underscore, if you do that all 4 years or all 3 years, whatever it is that you're in college, then you won't be able to do your practical training at the end. So most of our students choose to wait until they graduate so that they can work full time and they have the best skills they could possibly have, and then they make a better impression on the companies that they might want to work for. So that's, yes, you have options, but like I said, most of our students wait until after graduation.
And the accommodation advice, I mean, how would you suggest they approach that?
The housing?
Yeah.
Housing, we have, again, when you're working with your international admissions specialist, you really want to tell them, I want housing. And they can tell you what's available and what the costs are, and then you can make your decision based on that. It's a really good idea, though. I don't think I mentioned this during the presentation, but it's a wonderful way to meet other students because our dorms are just for academy students, right? So if I go live on my own, say I find a place pretty close to campus, and well, it's not great, but it's okay and it's a little cheaper. And then I'm there and I'm lonely, right? I'm just there by myself. And I see my fellow students in class, but after that, they go back to wherever they live and I'm by myself. So I really recommend the first year that you live in housing. If you're coming on site, be with other academy students, get a sense of being part of the community. Don't go live off by yourself somewhere and feel alone every night after class. It's not worth it.
Thank you. And there's a question about courses. So are courses regulated, or how creative can I be?
Well, we want you to be creative. We love that. That's what we're all about. But we also want you to learn the skills. So it's got to be a marriage between your skills and your creativity. Sometimes you may feel like, oh, this is all I'm doing is learning about these computer programs. That's true. You may have classes like that, but your future employers are going to want to know you know those programs. So when you do a project for them, you can take that creative mindset and put it down so that everybody can see it. That's really important. And sometimes students are like, well, I don't know why I have to take these foundation drawing classes. You know, I don't really want to draw. But you would be surprised how many times we hear from employers that the thing that makes our students different is they have a foundation in the fine arts. So they have a certain understanding, a certain sensitivity to color and light and images that you don't have otherwise. So trust us, we know how to make this work, and whether you're working on the computer or you're doing hand drawings, we know the steps you have to go through to be successful.
Okay, and there's a question about careers, but you've kind of touched on this already. So is there any help in finding a career post studies? I believe yes.
Absolutely. And in fact, so we have these things at the school called town hall meetings. The departments meet once a semester just to talk about what's happening within the department and answer questions the students have. And I was in the interior architecture and design town hall meeting yesterday, or day before, I guess. And they were saying they could not meet the needs of all the people who wanted to hire our students. So we have a lot of people who know about us, and we have this thing called the spring show. At the end of the school year, we put up the best work of all the schools. We put it under one roof, and then we invite employers to come, and they come. This isn't where the public comes, but the employers come. They meet the students, they hire on the spot, which is amazing. And we also, if you don't come to campus, but if you're working from home, but you have really great work, we showcase that work online, and employers will hire you based on your skills. The thing though that I want to emphasize, even if you're taking online classes or you're taking what we call hybrid classes, which is Zoom and real time, you can be in the class or be at home. If you know how to do this, work this computer, in other words, I know how to submit my files. I know how to create community with people who live in different places. I'm used to deadlines that are not in my time zone. I'm comfortable with that. If you can do the things that a business is looking for, a lot of students don't have those skills. You will be ahead. You will be ahead of the pack, basically. And I can guarantee you that's what people are looking for right now. They want to increase the labor pool. And how do they do that? People all over the world. So it's going to you're only going to benefit from what you learn.
Amazing. And we have a question here about architecture. Are there any requirements for architecture studies? What would the student need to apply?
Well, is this a bachelor's degree or a master's degree?
I think it's bachelor's.
Bachelor's degree? No. You come, you tell us what you want to do. We're going to get you started, and we're going to make sure your first studio class, for example, is for people who haven't done any architecture in the past. So if you have a love of it, you love to look at buildings, walking around, looking at how they're laid out, what's the feel of this building, all of that, you want to build community, and we'll take you again from the very beginning. You don't have to be experienced.
Okay, perfect. Okay, there's a question here. Will I be able to learn skills in another major if my original one doesn't work out for me?
That's a great question. A lot of times, like I said, we have 22 different majors, but we have over 100 and some, I can't even remember the number, options for you. One of the things that students, sometimes they get to the school and they think, well, I thought I wanted to do animation, but I really think I like illustration. Or I thought I wanted to do fashion design, but I think I want to do graphic design. Anyway, we have people change their minds all the time. So we set it up so in your first couple years, the classes are pretty much interchangeable. So we can transfer classes over into your new major. So you won't be behind. We know that students change their mind, and that's fine. We can accommodate you.
Amazing to hear. Okay, I've already got that question down. What is the cost of living in San Francisco currently?
Currently, gosh, well, San Francisco is
the
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive. It hasn't gone down a whole lot. I mean, if you're buying a place, it might be a little less, but it's expensive, and depends on your neighborhood, depends on if you live right in San Francisco or if you live in one of the surrounding communities. But if you live in our housing, some of that cost, you don't have to worry about your utilities. You don't if you have on the food plan, you don't have to worry about your groceries or where am I going to cook things. You don't have to, if you live in the housing, you just pay one fee and then you're taken care of for the semester. We have health insurance as part of that. So like I said, you could find inexpensive housing in the Bay Area. Not probably, well, you could in San Francisco, but you probably wouldn't feel safe. So if you were going to live, say, in one of the surrounding communities that's connected by our BART system, which is a metro, a subway, you could probably find a less expensive living situation where you'd have a house or an apartment, but you wouldn't have the community and you wouldn't have that shuttle service I was describing. And you would really, you might take you an hour, 2 hours to get to class, and then the same going home. There's just, until you get to know the Bay Area, I really recommend that you look at our housing, because I think that's a great way to start. And you meet friends, and we have secure buildings, and they're close to our studio facilities. So I recommend, if you're thinking about coming on site, look at our housing. That's a good place to start.
Amazing. And I think one of the final questions that we have here is about digital options. Will I be able to find out more about digital options, for example, game development?
Perfect. Games is hot right now. And
Yeah.
I didn't mention this, we have esports. So if you like to play games and you're good at it, you could get on one of our esport teams where you compete with other schools, just like you're playing soccer or you were playing basketball or whatever your sport might be, only you're doing video games. So yeah, we have all kinds of opportunities for that, and we have so many game studios all around our buildings. They're everywhere. And during the pandemic, that field even got more popular because everybody was home. So what were they doing? They're playing games. And anyway, we have many, many options for you in the game development area.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys for all of your questions. I think we have gotten through all of them now. Any last words from you, Sue? I mean, you are the host.
Well, I don't want to repeat myself. I don't want to take up any of your time. I know everybody's time is precious, but I want to say this. There's a lot of art schools out there. I've traveled a lot of different places in the world and looked at the art schools. And what I can say is what we offer is unique. The Academy of Art in San Francisco offers you so many things you can't get other places. We have the facilities. We have all the latest facilities. We have great relationships with global companies. We have, we're right in the intersection of art and design in San Francisco, and a creative hub for the United States. And we guarantee this portfolio. We know what you need to get a job. A lot of our schools won't talk to you about jobs. They will dance around that. They won't want to talk about it because many of their students don't get jobs. They go, you've all heard the expression of starving artists, and a lot of schools are just going to tell you, oh, we just want to see your creativity. We want to see your fresh ideas, but they don't give you the skills to present those professionally. We do. So if you need to work, if you want to work in art and design, you definitely need to give us a long, hard look, because that's all we do. That's our thing. We get students jobs. And I have heard so many students when they graduate have come up to me and said, if it wasn't for the Academy of Art, this wouldn't have happened. They're already employed. They haven't graduated yet, and they're already employed. And they're telling me it never would have happened if it hadn't been for the Academy. So don't miss this opportunity. It's a really, for artists and designers, it's really, really important. Check it out. Don't just walk by it and say, well, I'll go someplace else. Really get to know us a little bit before you make a decision.
Thank you so much for today, Sue. And we will be back with another webinar later this month. If you have any questions that you have thought of after the webinar, especially those watching on demand, please feel free to send those through and we will forward them on to the Academy of Art University and they will reach out to you shortly. All right, well, have a good evening or day wherever you are, and we will speak with you soon. Bye-bye.
Everybody, thank you for being here.